It looks great.
It does.
So let me show you what I look like. So that's where I'm really at.
It looks great.
It does.
But I do so many Zooms now. It's like sometimes my background is messy, so I just keep it on there.
I like the way it looks.
Thank you.
All right,
But
guys.
this way it always looks clean.
Right?
I have great news. We're now live on YouTube, and Eddie Q is actually joining us. So, Ryan, if you could go ahead and call the meeting to order, we'll go ahead and start.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. I call this meeting to order at 9:07 a.m. Obviously, a unique, board meeting. I never thought we'd be doing something like this, or at least not until the last few months. But I guess it's the new normal for now in some ways, and hopefully our next meeting we can meet in person. But for now, this is how we'll be doing things. So thank you all for being here and your time. Appreciate it. Obviously, again, a unique situation, worldwide and in downtown and with our businesses and our stakeholders, and just trying to figure out how to best get through this together and do what we can to help support our businesses. So with that, Ryan, are we going to go to public comment, or again, that'll just be coming in through YouTube? Is that correct?
Yes.
So if anyone has any public comment, again, here's where you can do those, and we will see them and we'll do our best to address them. With that, if everyone can go to the next page, our minutes from last meeting, which I was not at, so I don't know what happened to that degree, but Ryan, can you fast forward next page? Thank you, sir. Does anyone have any questions on the minutes? If they do, I guess Ryan would be the best person to address it, because again, I wasn't here. Or John Goffeld, who thank you, sir, for helping take that meeting over. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Anyone have any questions?
I'll motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Bruce.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are any no's? I'll abstain because I wasn't there, so I just didn't know what happened. But thank you. Next slide, please, Ryan. Is Officer Valdez on the call? Corporal Valdez? No? Okay. Jose, do you want to hit on the clean safe? And then if there's anything we can add, maybe Julie or anyone else can add to that?
Sure. Just want to inform that the clean team has been working extra hard cleaning downtown Santa Ana for the past 2.5 months, 3 months since the governor issued the stay-at-home order and businesses in downtown Santa Ana shut down. Unfortunately, the number of homeless encampments have increased in downtown Santa Ana. We have noticed more homeless people. We have seen a lot of new faces in downtown Santa Ana, and I don't know if that's has something to do with the county releasing people from the jails into our neighborhood. Unfortunately, most of the homeless people that we see on the streets in downtown Santa Ana are people who choose to be homeless. Basically, people who are drug addicts and or have mental problems. And also we have experienced an increase in vandalism and graffiti. Several storefront glasses having smashed, shuttered. More graffitis appearing all over, especially in our parking structures, alleys, and on backside of buildings. The clean and safe team has been the eyes and ears of business owners in downtown Santa Ana. We always report to the police department anything that we see, any unusual activity. We've seen some activity taking place in the First American building. And of course, every time that we see anything, we report it to the police and the building owner. Want to commend Robert Valdez and the downtown Santa Ana police team for the great work they have been doing in downtown Santa Ana. They have increased their hours. They have increased their patrols, and I know they have arrested several taggers. Unfortunately, most of them are teenagers, and in the past few weeks. Also, just so you know, the police has taken the extra task of cleaning and disinfecting parking meters and also the cross buttons at the intersections. We feel this is important in order to provide a clean and safe environment to our visitors. And as you know, this past weekend, we were asked to create outdoor dining areas in multiple locations in downtown Santa Ana, which they were a hit. You know, as we were doing them, other business owners requested to have the same setup in front of their restaurant. We closed Birch Street by following a traffic control plan created by the city engineer, and we enclosed parking spaces in front of several restaurants. In total, we enclosed 9 different areas. Last year, Julie Castro made the decision to purchase K-rails, pedestrian steel barriers, and traffic control signs. And owning that equipment has made a big difference. Julie is working on selecting different or new locations for future outdoor dining areas. We're gonna start setting up tomorrow, and we're ready to set them up ASAP. So it's been a challenging experience for the last couple months downtown Santa Ana. We have done our best to keep the area clean, and the guys are there working regular hours, full time. As I always say before, if you see anything, if you see an area that needs attention, please just let me know.
Guys, I just wanted to add that when we walk early morning at like 6 o'clock in the morning, 6:30 in the morning, we do see other vehicles, in particular Irvine PD, dropping off homeless people again. Unfortunately, at the times that we have seen it, we haven't been able to pull out our camera fast enough, but we are finding Irvine PD dropping off homeless people.
That is true. And we have also seen a bus dropping off people by Jack in the Box on Main Street and Santa Boulevard. We've seen them almost daily. So unfortunately, South County cities continue dropping off individuals here in downtown Santa Ana.
Is that like unlawful? Is that something that, I mean, are they actually violating the law by doing that?
They confirmed with us that that's the systemic approach. So those people are being dropped off to the courtyard, basically.
Shouldn't, I mean, hasn't the city said that before? I mean, have they sued them? Or, I mean, that's just not acceptable.
It's an ongoing dispute. Yeah.
So where is it at now, I guess is the question. Do we know?
So they're dropping them off at right by McDonald's on First Street.
I guess what I'm saying though is where are we at with the county, the city, the legal aspect of it? Because I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean,
right.
If we're continuing to be the dumping ground, it doesn't matter what we do on the ground. If they keep people in there, it's not going to be solved. I mean, that's crazy.
Exactly.
I can find out where we're at with that. I know that the big buses that drop off transients in the morning, these are the transients that are, at least from the last that I had heard, was the folks living at the lake, and they're supposed to verify that these homeless individuals have appointments in order to transport them to the Civic Center area. But you're right, it's just a challenge because we're like the immediate impact.
I mean, if you can find out Julie works out, that'd be great. I think it's one of those things where at some point, not that we have the capacity to sue the county or whatever, but maybe we find a nonprofit that does or something. I don't know, but it just, the impact that it's having on downtown is not obviously good, and it's going to continue unless there's something done about it. And we got to put our foot down. I mean, this is ridiculous. So if you can check that, I appreciate it. And
I just want to add something that I agree. Last I heard was that these individuals are brought to downtown Santa Ana because they have a business to attend to. Specifically, they need to attend court hearings. But you know, my complaint is that the courts have been closed for 2.5 months.
Yeah.
And the bus has continued dropping off individuals in downtown Santa Ana every single day, even though the courts are closed. So I just don't understand why, supposedly they are dropped off here to attend a court hearing. And it doesn't make any sense for me.
We're in agreement.
I'm kind of in between, a kind of a challenging spot, right? But let me just ask Terry, just straight out, like, find a new location. We're done dealing with this, and see, you know what? I'll identify a couple other spots that she can drop. Oh,
Thank you, Julie.
yeah.
Julie.
Yeah, and then if that doesn't, result in something significant for us, then I think we do need to take the next step.
Yeah, I agree. We'll
Question.
what goes.
I have a question, Ryan.
That we bring it to their attention, and it continues to be an issue. Sorry, Tish, go ahead.
No, that's okay. Why can't we sue like the city of Irvine? Because we know that they're doing it.
Well,
Why
again,
can't
that may be the next step, but I think we first need to find out where it's at. And then, I mean, the reality is the city of Santa Ana or the city of Irvine, all these things, they have legal in-house counsel. So, the amount of money it would cost us to sue someone, what they cost them. Sorry, one second, guys. Sorry. What it would cost, us to sue someone, and what it costs them, it doesn't cost them anything. The city of Irvine will just use their in-house counsel to defend it. Whereas for us, it would cost a fortune. So again, I think that's why the last thing I've always been taught in life is the last thing you want to do is sue someone, because there's no upside. You're basically going to fight and waste a lot of money, but at some point that might be our only option. So I think let's figure out where it's at with the city, and then maybe there's a nonprofit group or some, I don't know, that would be willing to take it on and push it. I mean, again, this is obviously a big issue, and it's kind of absurd. I mean, the fact this is happening, it's been happening for so long, it just kind of goes undiscussed or unaddressed to me is crazy. But let's see where it's at, and then again, we'll have to figure out what to do. But again, at some point, I hate to say that our organization should have to deal with this, because it really shouldn't, but someone needs to step up. And I think we need to figure out who that is, or who that strategic partner is that is willing to help kind of take on that battle. Because again, I think for us to take it on is probably not ideal. But I think let's see where it's at. And then if anyone else has any input to add, I mean, obviously happy to hear it, but I think we got to kind of see.
Ryan, have you met with Andrew Doe?
I have not, no.
That might be one step to take on.
All right.
For us. I mean, we kind of lost track of this as we went into COVID, but essentially the last I recall was we were trying to get the site in South Santa Ana opened because that would have alleviated the pressure and closed the courtyard in 18 months. The battle with the other cities is that Santa Ana is trying to take like a hard stance and say, not one more, we don't want to be the dumping ground, and the other cities don't have beds. So they're refusing to build things. So there was the Judge Carter case, but then I believe Santa Ana sued and disrupted that process by suing the other 34 cities. So it's a real mess. We've talked to the county's homeless czar. She ended up leaving, I think sometime either late last year. So there's not a county homeless czar. The city has Hafsa Kaka that maybe, Julie, I don't know, you want to check the city side. We should check the county side. We know David Penaloza wrote a letter to the county about this recently, but it's just going around and around in circles.
It's a challenging situation all across the board for everybody, what's her, Hafsa is no longer with the city of Santa Ana. Terry Eggers is the new homeless services manager, and she's been with them for a long time, part-time basis, but now she's full-time doing Hafsa's. She's doing a really good job. She kind of knows all the intricacies of all the so I think she's so that's who I'm basically ask her. There needs to be a stop to the dropping off in the downtown, because it's just been too long.
But it's like the fact that we have to say that is crazy. Like, you know what I mean? Like how this is happening, it just keeps happening, and no one, like, it's mind blowing to me.
Yeah, Birch Park is a mess right now with homeless people.
Oh, yeah.
The whole everything's a mess. I mean, if you keep dumping people, what's going to happen?
I don't know if you remember, but Kaiser had that problem. Remember, Kaiser was dumping off patients in LA. They got sued.
Oh, yeah.
They got sued by the city. and they stopped doing that.
The problem is Kaiser's a private company, whereas the city it's different. It's just it's government on government. Adds more challenges and layers. But I think, look at let's get the answers from Julie. I work that.
Someone's got some background noise. If
Yeah.
I think it's me. Let me turn it off, guys.
you can mute or
Okay,
well,
so in any case, if Julie, if you can look into that and give us a report back, then we can figure out how to approach it. But there's no question that what's happening is unacceptable.
okay. And then Julie, can you touch base on the fire as well? And
Yeah. So the fire was ignited. I think the police department and the fire department confirmed that it was arson and that somebody intentionally, caused the fire. However, there's also reports of like a lot of drug use and drug making and all this other stuff in there. There was concerns that there may have been some bodies in there, but the cadaver dogs went in and they didn't identify any human body parts or bones. And so the cleanup was substantial. That was probably one of the biggest fires that the city has seen in a very long time. And it, a historic building like that. So it was a big wake up call. And that kind of shook up the PD for a little bit because they were very concerned about First American Title and the old Chase Bank on Santa Ana Boulevard and Broadway. So all of that security level all heightened. We asked all the property owners to basically tighten up anything and get more security and just be more vigilant. PD more intensively, those vacant buildings intensively now. And we're just hoping for the best. I mean, thank goodness that now businesses are opening and there's a little more activity. And so, it was just better timing. Hopefully everything can hopefully there won't be any other fires to that regard.
thank you. And Michael, I know you're here. Did you want to let folks know about, all the great things you're doing at First American to button that up and keep downtown safe? And
yeah, first of all, sorry about the background. I've got twin 24-year-old daughters, both of them with fiancés, a wife that's working. So I just got chased further and further into the bowels of the home, and here I am. Nice desk, nice.
I want to see the girls. How cute. Did you say twins?
They are twins. They're fraternal, and one of them's getting married on Friday, and so her fiance's living here, and it's just chaos. We're quarantining. It's just we're quarantining with a big crowd. So such is my fate. So yeah, we've been doing our best. Before the fire, we had security nights and weekends running around the place trying to chase people out. Turned out it was rather unsuccessful. Now we have security 24 hours a day. And then we've also really reinforced kind of every opening in that place, put up plywood and screwed it in with 10 screws, and then they tore it down, screwed it in with 20 screws, and done everything possible. Did it so well. In fact, one morning we got a call because somebody was trapped inside the building and couldn't get out. We actually had to tear down the plywood, let them out, and then re-screw it back up. And now they're climbing on top of the roof. We found we didn't. The security called the Santa Ana Police Department, showed up, and there had been a guy who kind of rigged up something so he could climb up to the roof and steal copper out of the air conditioning units upstairs. So they're a little bit like, and I don't necessarily mean this in some politically incorrect way, but a little bit like just vermin. How's that? That it doesn't matter how many openings you close up, they find another one and get inside. But we seem to have a handle on it. We were being a little bit cautious about calling the police department at first because we didn't want to just be going chicken little on them and just hassling them and creating problems. But that clearly wasn't such a good idea. So now we're being very proactive about it. The Santa Ana Police Department, Jose, others have worked very, very hard to coordinate with us and get our arms around it. Obviously, the big issue is if it was just about them stealing copper out of the building, we'd open up the doors wide open and just tell them to haul it off and now get out of here. But unfortunately, that's not what it's about. And obviously, we're hyper concerned about protecting the historical element within that building. I know Tim Rush would like to think we're trying to encourage people to burn it down. That's just absolutely false. And so we intend to retain what we've agreed to retain and protect as best we can, because we know it's just going to fall back on us anyway if something bad happens there. So again, lots of coordination from the city. We've asked people like Julie and the two Ryans to keep their eyes and ears open for us, see something, call the police, call us. We've had some reports of, oh yeah, that door was wide open for the last 3 days. What the hell were you guys doing? Just, we didn't know it was open. We would have come over and we would have boarded it up. So the communication's flowing a lot better. And again, we seem to be temporarily winning this battle. We're also trying to accelerate our demo permit. We had intended on starting a demolition July 1st. COVID-19 delayed that project by, call it 3 or 4 months. But instead, we're going to kind of try to take the building down sooner, not later, and just get rid of the nuisance, basically. That doesn't include, of course, the historical part of the building, but if we only had to retain 10% of it or 20% of it, that makes it a lot easier area for us to kind of patrol and keep our eyes open. So thanks for the cooperation from those on the call. We're, honest to God, trying to do our best. And if somebody's got a better idea, something else we can do, let us know. We'll try to make that happen.
Thanks so much. It was so great to be able to reach right out to you right after the church and really get right on the same page right away. John, did you want to say anything about the church? It looked like you posted some pretty poignant stuff about the historic church that burned down.
Well, I guess, I was pretty shocked when that happened. I used to live in French Park. I lived right, up the street. And back when I moved there in the 80s, that church was still, where the symphony would rehearse. The Orange County Crazies used to do all of their performances down in the basement. And my mother, who is the former president of the Pacific Coast Archaeological Society, they used to rent space and have their meetings down there. So it was a really vibrant space. There was always a lot of really nice things going on there. And you'd walk by there any time of day or night, and there'd be people, and you'd hear classical music coming out of there. And so when that happened, I think I was just sharing some of those memories with people, outside of it being a church, where there was services and all of the memories I'm sure that people have about that. It was a real cultural center, and it was a very sad loss. It was just a very, very sad loss, and I think it's too bad that it couldn't have continued to flourish in that capacity. But it didn't. Unfortunately, the organizations that were involved with it, either like in the case of the Crazies, they got their own building and developed their own thing, which was a great thing since it was still downtown. But the symphony left, and it just never seemed to catch back on again. And I never heard, maybe somebody here in our group, I never heard about who bought it or what they had planned for it or if there were plans for it. It just seemed like one of those buildings that everybody kept wondering what's going to happen with that someday. But I never, ever remember anybody coming to our downtown meetings with any sort of, hey, can you guys help us do X, Y, Z? And maybe I'm in the minority here, but I just don't remember having anyone have show any love towards that building in a very long time. So very sad to see it go.
Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, it was owned by a couple, and I met them once at one of our annual gatherings, and Mark Morley said he'd been working with the wife quite a lot lately, and they were making some moves finally. So it was very bad timing for that. But it was a total loss at like $2.1 million or something like that. So,
yeah.
Speaking, it often seems like a terrific idea to buy a building like that, and then we're going to rehab it. We're going to make it sexy and interesting and dynamic, and the economics start kind of rearing their ugly head. New Title 24, which is kind of green building standards, the historical standards, building codes and you suddenly realize, I mean, there's just no way to make a project like that economically feasible, or at least seemingly. Eventually, sometimes people figure it out and they get the right tenant or the right use, but it's a hell of a lot harder than it sounds on paper or, from a distance. So I could see where somebody might have been trying for a long time and just couldn't make the economics work. Quick, one last thing. I was looking up the county supervisors and I think I see that Santa Ana's in District 1 and Irvine's in District 3, which means they've got two different supervisors in charge of those areas. So whoever threw out the idea of talking to Andrew Doe, I suspect that's a hell of a good start, especially if you can just kind of make it clear that Supervisor Wagner's dumping his problem into his district and see how he feels about that. You might get them kind of working on each other and we can almost step back and let Supervisor Doe kind of take care of it for us.
Great. Is there any other questions or concerns about safety that we should know about before we move on?
I had a question because I was unaware of the bus, coming along and doing the daily drop in Santa Ana. So maybe just for my education, who's running that bus? Where does that bus originate, and where do they pick up the people from, and who's behind that bus?
It's us. It's us, John. It's so the city of Santa Ana constructed a temporary homeless shelter over on like Red Hill and Warner, like about a year ago or so, maybe two. And so those folks have to be, that's where they live, right, temporarily until they find permanent housing. So those folks get transported in a bus from the link to downtown or to different areas of the city in order to, it's a means of transportation for these folks to get to their appointments or their family or whatever it is that they need to do. And so it's the city of Santa Ana. And that link, that homeless shelter in Red Hill and Warner, it's supposed to be temporary as well until the city finds a bigger location that we can purchase some land and basically construct a permanent shelter. I want to say that they're aiming for 400 beds for the city of Santa Ana, and it'll be a separate deal from the county. County of Orange is also constructing, or supposed to construct, a homeless shelter that's more permanent and remove that courtyard, the one where the bus depot is at. They're supposed to shut that down, but that's been in the works for the last 2 years at least. It's been a very long time for being.
Yes, and all the staff who are working on it at the county and city level are now gone. So we have to start again. So it would be great to work with the electeds and through Julie as well.
Thank you.
Ryan, you want to take us to finance?
Sure. Financial report. I think, Jose, are you going to go over the financial report? Jose?
Jose, you're muted.
Okay, sorry, I'm back. Yes, I'll just go over the basics. Ryan, if you can show the financial report, thank you, on the screen. We, as you know, we have two sources of income. One is the bid funds, which business owners pay an additional assessment every time they renew their business license. The other source of income is the parking revenue. Well, the first source of income has been impacted. As you are aware, the city of Santa Ana gave a 90-day extension to all businesses in Santa Ana to renew their business license. So what does that mean? The previous renewal date it was March 30th. And previous years, we will start getting money in April and May. Basically, we used to get about 50 grand between April and May for the whole year out of the $100,000 that we usually get. Unfortunately, this year so far, we have only received $21,000 from the bid funds. And it's uncertain right now how soon or when we will be getting additional money. Again, the only way we can get money is if and when the business owners renew the business license. And so the new deadline is June 30th. So I hope that we start getting money in July or August. But right now, we're pretty short in that category. The next category of revenue is the merchants fund. It basically is money that we get from the parking revenue, 100 grand. That is the agreement that we have with the city. We received the first two payments, the first one in January, the second one in April, for $25,000 each. I believe we're on schedule to receive the third installment in July. I'm sure Julie can tell us if we're on the schedule or not. And then the next one will be in September, October. Also, the Clean and Safe receives money from the parking revenue. We received the first two payments, the first one in January, the second one in April. Same as the Merchants Fund. The next two payments are due in July and then October of this year. Julie, if you don't mind, if you can just give us a brief summary of the financial situation of the source of income so that we can understand what's going on.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Jose. I was like getting close because I wanted to see those numbers. The situation with the funds in the downtown, oh man, this is the luxury of working from home. The dog is literally gonna run across the street. So just really quickly, hold on, let me get this dog not to run. Sorry, guys.
We all have those instances.
I lost my dog for 3 hours.
Oh, no.
Did you?
I had the front door open while she was doing her business on the front yard. Call, and 15 minutes later, she's gone. She's a little Pekingese, about yay big, and she wandered off about a mile.
Oh,
And luckily, that next door app, somebody found her, and we got her back. Like I said, within 3 hours.
oh, that's a good story.
Yeah,
Woo!
they're ready to give her a name and everything.
That was
Got it back?
Everything okay, Julie?
I'm sorry.
We good,
That's
Julie?
like the life we're living right now.
It is.
We're al fresco, and now my heart's racing because I had to run. Okay, so just really fast. The funds within the downtown, I hope will pick up, but right now they are not coming in. So there are some people that have been paying their business license. There's some people that have paid their bid, but it's definitely not the same pace as last year. And so all businesses have an automatic 90-day extension. And that means that if their business license expires June 30th, they have 90 days to pay it. And they also have the opportunity to do a payment plan for 12 months. So yes. So, some people are taking advantage of that. Some people are just paying it. Some people pay it sooner than 12 months. We don't typically offer 12 months right off the back because that's challenging. But I'm hoping that business will start to pick up and things will just get back to normal. For now, the bid goes through all of the agreements expired at the end of December. So you guys are fine for 2020. And then hopefully all that new money and revenue and business starts to pump up back into the downtown so that we can make up for that gap, for that lag of funds. So I did talk to both organizations, Santa Ana Business Council and Downtown Inc. And I basically said, be prepared, figure out what you have to do in order to spread those funds. The only funds that are having a lag is the bid funds, but merchant is fine and clean and safe is fine through the end of 2020. That's it. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Hey, Ryan, excuse me, I have a question. Okay, because of the parking meters and the way that the parking situation is going on right now, that's going to also affect that revenue, won't it?
Yes, absolutely. So let me go ahead and share because I kind of highlighted some of the main points, and it sounds like there's been a few updates. So this is in the positive, but we've been very concerned with revenue disruption due to COVID, And the first thing that came up was that the bid fees were deferred 90 days. And at first we were talking about a 90-day payment term beyond that, but it sounds like it's 12 months. So bid fees have been deferred 90 days and they could be paid over 12 months. So that's quite an extension. Parking revenue is down since March significantly. The down, as Jose said, we did not get to get reimbursed from the bid fund this spring to almost half of what we usually are pulling in from that revenue source. And so with those things in mind, the critical things moving forward, is that we need to be able to build a bid account ASAP. We need to get the next merchant fund payment, which is the parking revenue payment. The payment usually comes in at the end of July. If we didn't get that payment or any bid money by that time, we would run a zero balance from the bid fee, the bid revenue, and the merchant revenue. So it's very what we've been trying to confirm is that $25,000 will come in July. And so we've had multiple confirmations. Yes, that's good. And it sounds like good for the payments through the end of the year, which will be phenomenal. We definitely want to keep all of our agreements in place with the city moving forward. Our annual merchant fund agreement, which gives us $100,000 from parking, our clean and safe agreements, which pull in $500,000 from parking revenue for all the critical services, the police department agreement, which is $1 million or so agreement for officers. We want those to stand moving forward. And then, as we'll be talking about later, we have this new $200,000 OCTA grant over the next 2 years to spend on a lot of marketing items. So we're really trying to simmer our budget and run lean on our bid revenues and our parking revenues right now, and trying to expansively plan to use this new revenue source, this OCTA grant money, which has to be used strictly on marketing and not administration. So this is a real snapshot of where things are at. I think from what we're seeing on the screen, some of the things I'm hearing is that the merchant fund is okay through the end of December, and that the bid fee fund is slowly replenishing, which is great.
Thank you, Ryan. Does anyone have any questions on that?
I have one question for you, Ryan. Is it possible? I know that OCTA grant fund was specifically earmarked as a marketing fund. Obviously, nobody could have predicted COVID. Is it possible that a one-time exception could be made that would allow us to use those funds just to keep ourselves operating? If we need to get into that situation, where we need funds to operate things like clean and safe, which I would say is probably our number one priority always. Would that be possible? And if so, how would we go about negotiating that with OCTA?
So John, I'll speak just because I was kind of part of the negotiating team on this deal. I think the answer is no. And I think the reality is I hope, and I don't think it'll get to that point where we're going to be that decimated. I mean, there will be some challenges on the funding side. I think clean and safe will not be a problem because it's kind of a separate agreement, if you will. But again, we might have to get a little leaner. But in terms of going back to OCTA, I mean, to be frank, they were very clear about that this money was supposed to be for auxiliary or augmenting existing services. They were adamant that this was not to be meant to supplant what we were already doing or to basically replace existing revenue streams. So the agreement is very clear that it needs to be spent on, again, augmenting what we're already doing. And again, I'm hoping it doesn't get to the point where we're that screwed, if you will, where we'll have to look at what to do. But I think right now we're okay. And we have to just continue to monitor it and hope for the best, I guess, and prepare for the worst. And that's what kind of we're doing. But again, I don't think it'll get to that point. I hope not. And if it does, again, I think that's probably not where we want to go be asking from OCTA.
Okay. I have a question, Ryan. Did we apply for that payroll one for payroll to for those affected by this virus? Did we apply for that?
If I recollect correctly, I think we spoke about it and internally we decided it was not a move we wanted to make from a PR standpoint, from a need standpoint. A lot of small businesses are struggling to survive, and I don't think it's, a bids position to be taking that funding when we already had the funding to support it, if you will. I mean, is that what we decided, Ryan? If you correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's what we talked about.
Yeah, so with the initial release of the PPP, 501c6s were not a part of it, and then later they did become a part of it. So we did talk about it, but because the revenue, we haven't, we still are in the green. We're as long as we continue to get the revenue in, we won't need those loans.
All right, thank you.
All right. So next up is Julie, Ryan.
I said Julie, I started here, but Julie, are you give us a report, please?
Sure. Just the city continues to work on a variety of projects for all businesses to reopen. So one of the projects is to do outdoor dining with the alcohol consumption. So this would include closing off parking lots or half of parking lots, allowing people to dine outside in the sidewalks. And so we're working on that. The city manager should be signing an executive order to allow for that citywide. But the downtown was the first area to be able to just kind of launch that without the alcohol consumption this past weekend. And so far, so good. And then, on other fronts, there's some movement with the Measure X funds. And it looks like that revenue did come in substantially for the months that were not COVID. And so they're working on executing or putting that money to work, and a lot of citywide maintenance, parks and things of that nature. What else can I report out on the city side? We're hoping to open City Hall June 1st, but that's not confirmed yet, but it looks like it might happen. There's some city staff that have come back to work after being off for 2 months, which was crazy. What else can I share? Oh, and then just as it pertains to downtown, with the food islands and the parklets that we're implementing already, I'm hoping that we can make that more of a permanent feature, or a temporary permanent, something we can have barricades or block that parklet area so that we can move them if needed or keep them there. And they're weather resistant and all that good stuff. I'm going to be asking for some money from the city manager's office to cover the purchase of the materials. Let's see here. I think that's pretty much it for now. That's specific. Can't wait for this COVID to end. And I applaud all the business owners for continuing to move forward. And if there's anything that I can assist with, I'm always available via phone, text, email, however it is that you want to communicate with me.
Perfect.
Julie,
how is the Worst House and Delilah's thing going?
When you say their thing, like, what do you mean?
Their patios, their build outs.
Yeah, so Delilah did get permission. And I think she was just waiting on some revenue to be able to cover all of that, or maybe she was working on some other projects. I'm not quite sure, but she did get her extension, her liquor license. So that helped move her into a different direction. And then for the Worst House, they have permission to do the outdoor patio. They, I believe they're working on getting their ABC license approved. They were in the process of doing that, and now they have to, kick the ball again. It's funny that you said that, Madeline, because Monique literally just emailed me. But I think they just need to do it. They just need to build those patios.
okay, Julie, I have a question. Because of the parking spaces that are being blocked off for the for the seating. And again, that's affecting the revenue that we're going to be getting. Are we going to be compensated in any way from that? Or I mean, I think it's great that it's happening in the restaurants, but then again, it has that kind of backlash for us not getting that revenue. So just
Yeah.
curious.
You know, the parking meters are such an issue in the downtown. There's, you know, ever since I've started in this role, I have yet to hear how fantastic they are.
Oh, they're not.
I hear what you're saying, like we're losing on that revenue on a daily basis. I think the city's position was, let's preserve the businesses and the people, and at least that was my thought, and basically take the hit on that revenue for some time because we know it's not going to be permanent. But if we were to have a permanent outdoor patio or outdoor parklet, we would just take that cost in. I'm not sure exactly how the finances would work out, but I think that it would just be a lot better for the downtown. It would draw in more people. It would have more people would want to stay, and I think there's a better benefit. Plus, the parking revenue really comes from the parking structures.
Okay.
The structures is what's the money maker, if you will.
Monthly renters, so that's big recurring capital.
Especially events. Special events, sometimes that draws in $20,000 for the parking lot in one day.
Okay.
And so,
And another question, Julie, regarding if it becomes a permanent thing, how will the streetcar then affect it?
yeah, so the streetcar is going to go on the south side of 4th Street, so we wouldn't be outlets on that side. But the sidewalks, from what I heard and from what I gather, are going to be a lot longer, wider.
Okay.
So we might have to do something creative there. But parklets would probably be safest on the north side, like where 4th Street Market is and Pizza Press, that side.
Okay, thank you.
I think Tish, to respond to your question about the parking revenue, again, I think in the scheme of things, it's not a huge amount. And I think right now we need to create as much goodwill and as much attention and as much buzz and as much activities as we can downtown. And then obviously we'll have to reevaluate as time goes on and really see what the impacts are, both to the businesses, to our revenue stream and everything else. But it's really related to the majority of the revenue is not coming from the meters anyway. So I don't think the impact will be that dramatic. And again, we're just trying to support everyone right now and trying to get people back open, I guess is the idea.
Yeah,
so.
no, I love the idea that is happening, and I think I haven't done it myself, but I think it's great that we're doing it. But I wasn't sure where all that revenue was coming from, which parking, the structure, or the meters. So
Sure.
Thank you.
I appreciate that.
We did ask Shavitas, for example, would you pay the meter fee per day, the $12 a day to take these meters? And they said yes. So there might be a revenue model similar to how like Lola's patio is an infringement on public space. And so there's a compensation of $1,000 paid back to the city a year for like that patio, for example. So there might be a compensatory mechanism. Right now, we're just deploying about, Julie said about 8 of them we could go up to. So we're getting them all out. I think we have 6 or 7 committed right now. All right, cool. Well, thanks for that, Julie. It's been an incredible partnership time as we've been working together. The city has been so flexible and on it, and you've been a great partner. So I'm just going to go through some of the stuff we've been working on since our last gathering. So we've been doing almost 24/7 communications during COVID. That's the name of the game, really, with this whole thing. In partnership with Julie, we've had a downtown weekly phone call, which we're keeping over 100 businesses invited to that every week. Usually, I think there's about 15 to 20 people on the call. There's been special guests from the health department, SBA, all these types of people to give us really the most up-to-date information, sometimes information minutes after it's come out. Sometimes we have the call and then 5 minutes after the call, everything is old news. So, but it's been a very seemingly valuable touch point for a lot of stakeholders with a lot of good feedback and return visits, and things have been handled out of that meeting. So very happy to have that for the last maybe 2 months. Of course, lots of emailing. Every time we hear we are entering a new stage or there's a important government document, we've been pushing that out to our businesses. We've continued to, talk about marketing stuff as well as important information in our weekly newsletters. Robert has been doing a tremendous job with our social media. Our social media has actually grown in audience size 15 to 20% during the last 2-3 months. Because of the vital information he's pushing out, also all the community kind of support efforts that he's been initiating. We've also been doing a lot, even more than ever, one-on-one outreach. So calling people, talking with businesses multiple times a day, even to understand what's going on and how programs are working for them as they roll out. If something happened, would they do something? So a lot of direct communications going on. And then we've been really active, both Madeline and I, in talking with other cities, what's going on in Long Beach, Costa Mesa, New York, San Francisco, Philadelphia, really Florida, learning a lot from people, and happy to report that Santa Ana has been one of the leading cities and the quickest to turn around some of these innovative solutions, like the takeout parking solution that we implemented a few weeks ago, and enhanced with the help of the city manager. This pilot dining program, we're one of the first cities in the country to actually pull it off. So incredible leadership, and really exciting to have that cross comparison. For example, with the regard to our food islands, Jose mentioned we had all that equipment because of prioritizing purchasing that with Julie. In other cities, West Palm Beach, they're spending $30,000 a month on the equipment. So they had to rent the equipment. They have a more uniform look to their equipment. It's very beautiful, but it's incredibly, we'd be bankrupted in 2 months. So that's been really exciting. We've been doing, blogs and updated graphics. The graphic of open restaurants was updated over 20 times as businesses open and close to keep that accurate. We printed and distributed, social distancing posters, takeout posters, and we've been doing weekly checking in with our partners, with the clean and safe team, with PD, so that we can keep abreast of issues like the fire, make sure that we're covered. So it's been a real communication blitz. Also, there was a run to put all of our events. At first, we started canceling events, and then we moved as many as we could online. And so Art Walk has actually been occurring as a 4-hour digital showcase on the first Saturday of the month with about 20 artists per episode, musicians, local businesses, restaurants featured, promoting takeout during the show. And we're going to do our third one. It's actually not this Saturday. It's next Saturday is the third digital Art Walk, and it's gotten thousands of views and good engagement. We were also working with Madeline and a local music producer team, actually the mayor's son, Miguel Polito Jr. and Brianna Harley, to launch a open stage program on the Calle Cuatro Plaza. And since that's not possible right now, we launched it online. So it was another 2-hour Saturday showcase, and it had coffee muse and shop unlisted. So it features more of the retail businesses, which is exciting. We were also part of this Global Earth Challenge during Earth Week. So there were 27 projects done in 14 countries around climate resiliency and place. And so we did 2 projects here. One of them was a walking tour, which is now available on our website. You can go on our Downtown Santa Ana site, go to guide, walking tour, and take a 4K HD 1 hour, 1 mile walking tour around downtown. And as the video plays, little clips about like the murals or the businesses, over 100 points of interest are shared. So that was one of the projects to get people out walking and enjoying the neighborhood. Madeline initiated this project, which was an online art gallery, a digital art gallery. And so this featured 8 artists from town, and it was different works like Jonathan from Art of the Endangered, and Denise Moritz at the Ad Arts Building, and Adriana Martinez, who hosts the SketchUp events from 4th Street Market that have now gone digital as well. So it's just a great way to keep, instead of just promoting come by takeout, we're talking about who we are, our culture, still working with a lot of our partners. We've been working really hard to promote the farmers market. And now that people are starting to go back to work, the farmers market sounds like may move to later in the day. It's been Tuesdays, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. It sounds like it might go to 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. Based on a lot of feedback they're getting. And then we've been promoting really hard for businesses to connect with OCTA's Eat Shop Play campaign. We had a meeting with them, and essentially any downtown business, even service businesses, art studios. I know Gene signed up, Art Walk signed up, the farmers market signed up recently. Basically, you sign this one-page form, and then you tell them a social media boost you'd like, and they put $100 ad on Instagram and Facebook for you promoting whatever you want. So we've gotten several of those through in the last couple of weeks, and really excited to just be able to give people that opportunity. As Julie mentioned, we've been working really hard this last week as news started coming out of leadership of other cities talking about alfresco dining and letting businesses pop out into the street. We worked with Julie and Bill McGovern and a lot of the restaurants to come up with a very fast and very scalable solution that was deployed very quickly and professionally by Jose Romo's team. Really amazing stuff. Like I said, we were presenting this to other cities yesterday. They were very impressed. Costa Mesa's taking notes and looking to copy what's being done here. They're driving down our streets looking to copy what we've already implemented. We're working on a few more sites right now with this as well. So there'll be as many as 8 of them up met by next weekend. Like I said, Robert's really been doing an amazing job. He has been keeping people informed about things like the fire and important news about opening businesses. He also did a really cool campaign inviting people to send pictures of their graduates, because Santa Ana College and high school students are not really having a graduation this year. This has been a huge hit on our social media to feature students, and tons of stories and photos are pouring in. I'm on a roll myself. I got accepted into the International Downtown Association's Emerging Leaders Fellowship. So this is the 4th year I've applied to get into this, and I finally got in. And it's basically, they invite about 30 bid leaders from around the world, and it's an intensive training on leadership and bid management. And it's a really, really valuable program. A lot of other bid leaders, like from Oakland and Phoenix, have told me, like, you need to do this program. So finally got in and get to go represent Santa Ana, which I'm super excited about. Yeah.
Congrats.
So that's my part. Was there anything in there that anyone had any questions or comments on they want to go back to? I know it's a lot of stuff.
I want to just get on the Ryan train here. You have been a fantastic, Ryan, to work with. You're like a workaholic. You're always working, and you're phenomenal to work with. So thank you for just being so awesome, and you deserve that fellowship. I hope that you scale all of those crazy cool ideas. But congrats to you.
Thank you. High five right there.
Love it. Anything else on the consultant report, Ryan? Okay, I'll go into my president's report. I'm keeping this very short and simple, guys. Kind of piggybacking what Ryan and Julie both said. I think that the team, including Madeline, including Jose, including the city, including a few others, have really, Julie obviously and Ryan, but have stepped up and taken on a lot of work and a lot of outside the box thinking, a lot of creativity, and really trying to make shit happen in a very challenging environment. I also really want to commend the city. Again, with this outdoor dining thing, I think I've joked about it now, but I emailed Julie, I think last Wednesday, asked for some support on this. And Thursday she texted me and said we got it approved. And I frankly was like, what, we got what approved? Because I never seen something happen that quickly in the city. But to happen that quickly and not only again approve the outdoor dining, but to have all the departments, the police, the public safety, the health department or whatever, you know, the public works department, the city legal. I mean, this normally takes weeks to pull something like this off, and to pull this off in less than 24 hours is mind blowing. So I will say that I'm very happy and I guess, you know, surprised, but again, happy and very just eager to continue to work with the city to continue to make improvements. And the fact they're willing to step up and do this that quickly shows that they care and they're trying to help. So again, I think the idea is that let's continue to work with them. If you have any ideas beyond what is already being done, we'd love to hear it. We don't have all the answers. And again, this is an adaptable situation that's changing every day and every minute. So we don't have all the answers. I don't think anyone does. And so again, whatever input you all have, we'd like to hear. It helps. So whether it's in this format now or whether it's an email to Ryan or Julie or myself or anyone after the fact, that's fine as well. But again, we're all in this together. And I think, you know, as Julie alluded to, you know, Ryan and myself and others have been really looking at what other downtowns are doing and trying to kind of piggyback, you know, the ideas and what's working and what's not. And I mean, I think Ryan's probably sent 10 emails in the last week about every city doing this or that or the other. And I mean, what cities have come up with and what plans they're putting together, and it's pretty mind blowing. I think, look, this is obviously a horrible situation for everyone involved, for small business owners, for the community and everything else. But you know, the one thing that people always say about America is we innovate, and we adapt, and we get better. So hopefully over time, this turns into a positive in some way where we figure out a way to bring some positives from this for the future, whether that's outdoor seating that's permanent, whether that's doing more online events, whether that's whatever, you know, it's a model we have to look at. I mean, and just in terms of, you know, small businesses, for example, I know that several that have not done delivery or takeout before have started doing it and developed income streams they didn't have before. So I think, again, you got to adapt to survive, and we're all trying to do that right now. And again, whatever we can all do together to help, we're trying to do. So again, any other input anyone has, any ideas, we welcome them. And again, we're all in this together, just trying to get through this. So thank you all for your time and your energy and your support. And again, I just want to thank the team for all their efforts, because this wouldn't be happening without them. So thank you. That's all I got. Ryan, do you want to go into the marketing workshop?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
All right, so this is pretty exciting. And to preface this is really the first time we've talked about this extensively and deeply here. So you haven't missed much in this conversation. This is really the opening conversation. No decisions have been made here. So we're really, we're all making these decisions together. So as mentioned, you know, there's been a long conversation with OCTA about helping the businesses during the construction. Construction has been very tough on the businesses as expected. And OCTA has really seen that the downtown business improvement groups can really leverage marketing funds to help the businesses better than anybody else. And so they've made a commitment of $100,000 a year to us over the next 2 years for marketing projects. And so I'm going to go through a little bit about this. I'm going to introduce this fund and its specifications. I'm going to give you this Downtown Inc. staff take on how we want to approach this or hope to approach it. Some of the outreach efforts and ideas that we've gotten back so far and priced, and then your ideas and priorities. So we're really looking at, yes, there are a lot of ideas and prices out there, but those were just so that as ideas came in, we wanted to start to get pricing to start to put together the portfolio of how we're going to spend this money. And we've got about $130,000 of things already priced out, and that's not probably inclusive of everything that's out there. But about the fund itself, it's $200,000 over the next 2 years. The period started actually this April, so almost 2 months ago. And it's to enhance our events and outreach and marketing. SABC also received the funds, and in some cases is eager to partner with us on our ideas, and they also have ideas that they want us to partner with them on. We cannot use the funds for administration costs, and the funds will be audited. And if we misuse the funds, they'll be stopped, and also we may be forced to repay them. There's quarterly reporting going on. So every quarter we're going to be reporting what we use the money on, the impacts, things like that. And then it's annually going to be audited. Although in the meetings with OCTA, although the language sounds very punitive, they've been very excited and friendly about this. And they do expect that we're going to be using these funds to our best judgment, and that's what they want. I did include just the specific language that pertains to the limiting of the funds, so you guys can understand that it's about increasing our audience, it's about increasing the number of events, enhancing events, so on and so forth. So that you have to review later in your packets if you're interested in more depth. From our perspective as staff, adding an extra $100,000 to the budget, it sounds really great. We're really excited about the opportunities, but it's also a lot to manage. So every contract out of this is going to have to be priced. We're going to have to work with the vendor on everything they need to get started. We're going to have to be meeting with the vendor to manage the project. We're going to have to ensure that the impact is is great. If it's an online video, how is the pre-promotion? How are we using the clips and post-promotion? So we want these projects to be really straightforward and easy to manage, so we don't have hundreds of new projects that we're managing and that they're not getting executed well, or they're not impactful, or it's just too much on what we're already trying to get done. We also would love to see costs be commensurate with our current types of contracts. So what I mean by that is, in some cases, we heard an idea and we went and got a price, and the price we got from a contractor was so high, it makes all of our current expenses seem like a joke. And so it doesn't seem very equitable to go hire really high paid projects and then have us with our budget crippled trying to manage those type of things. So we'd like to see the types of expenditures that we've already typically make and in line with scale and scope of what we like to do. And then we want to partner as much as possible with the city and with SABC, so that, and with the private sector or business clusters or neighborhood groups, so that the funds get utilized most effectively. And one question is how do we feel about sponsorships? In the past, we haven't done very many sponsorships. We've seen that, for an event, for example, it's easier and more cost effective for us to provide technical assistance, to let people know where sponsors are, to help people build their audience, to help people connect with our businesses, versus just giving them cash. But that could be a part of our portfolio with regard to this fund, since sponsorships are much easier to manage. The objectives are really clear of the participant, and then we get the marketing benefit. And so one sub question to sponsorships is, would we want to sponsor one business doing something, or does it always, usually we like to do things where multiple businesses, like for example, the Tamalada, where you had multiple businesses, or Savor Santa Ana, you have 40, 50 businesses all benefiting, versus a one-off. So that's some of our ideas. So far as outreach goes, we've really only talked about the money and asked for ideas from the Restaurant Association about 3 months ago. And a lot of those ideas were events, so those are maybe on hold. We did send it out to our email list, asking people what they would do. We have a press release up on our website right now that we'll just start distributing out tomorrow, that includes information about the money and asking for any ideas. And then it's been mentioned on our weekly call. And we've done some one-on-one outreach, talking to Julie, talking to SABC, talking to businesses about what would be effective to try and get some ideas, talking to some board members as well. So here's some of the stuff that gives you an idea of some of the things that we've heard about and we've gotten priced. And then I'm going to look to you guys for some reactions. What do you like? What do you not like? What do you want to see more of? What do you want to see less of? So one of the things that we looked at was printing. We did that great project thanks to Yvonne Flores and Nestor, the Artist Village banners over in the Artist Village. I think like 20 to 30 banners over there. And we had already talked to SABC about doing them on 4th Street next. We went ahead and got asked for pricing for 4th Street banners all the way across down 4th Street. and only 13 of the poles could actually handle banners, and they have to be a very small size, and they're all near trees, and the trees are going to get cut down in the next year. So we thought maybe we would push that project to later. We also got a quote for wrapping the blue lot. So that's the lot, the chain link fence lot at Bush and First. That whole entire fence could have a mesh graphic saying downtown, pictures, and it would be semi-transparent. So there's still secure safety for the lot, which is there, but it would have a big banner on First Street, which is our busiest street that we're adjacent to. There, similarly, the Swinterton lot at 3rd and Main has a similarly sized fence, and they may be willing to split the cost of that one with us. SABC is also interested in splitting the costs on these projects potentially. So although the 5,000 mark, that includes the full cost of printing and design, that our layout could be as little as 1,000 or 2,000 for the Swinterton and 2,500 for the blue lot. Some of the issues we're maybe concerned about is graffiti. So if someone goes out there, the Swinterton lot, for example, is already being graffitied. So if we put this up there, it gets graffitied, how does it have to be replaced, so on and so forth. We also, we had a more extensive call with the street pole people and really identified that probably First Street adjacent to downtown, they have the mega poles, street poles. So we could actually do giant double banners on First Street, and the cost is pretty similar to the smaller ones. So unfortunately, the quote he gave me was for the entire length of First Street from west side of the city to the east. That's only $17,000 actually to cover that entire space. But we're looking at just the quote to cover the area adjacent to downtown. And that would be a very attractive project. Something else that we've looked at in the past and had priced out but never had the money for was the hotel rack cards. So there's a program in OC where they distribute basically trifold brochures to John Wayne Airport, all of the California Welcome Centers, and then 100+ hotel sites. And in addition, we can send letters to the hotels and be much more in touch with the entire OC hotel infrastructure. And we've had that priced out at about $12,000. We do some postcard poster printing, but very minimal. So I just put that in there as about $1,000 because we don't do too much of that, and it doesn't cost that much. As far as sponsorships, we haven't really solicited sponsorships from people. Like I said, that's always been something we've really shied away from because we could give away all our money in about 5 minutes if we focused on sponsorships. But we did get requests from the Frida Cinema. The Frida is looking for equipment to basically enhance their streaming. They're streaming all their videos right now, about 20 movies online. They're producing online content like we are. And they had a huge success over the weekend at the Muckenthaler with drive-in movies. They've sold out 3 drive-in movie shows that they're producing there. We tried to work with Logan to get that here first, but none of the lots that were able to accommodate the scale that he needed in the time frame he needed. We potentially may be able to get him back, but he's now potentially being hired by many OC cities to produce these drive-ins. And so we could be a sponsor of that and have our businesses be marketed throughout the county via that tool. And that's something also the SABC is interested in splitting this cost with us. So though that's the full request that Logan had said, that could be actually split with SABC. We also got a request from Munchies to do a mural and promotional video. That's the company that moved from McFadden to Eat Chow. We asked them in a follow-up email, well, could you involve more businesses? Like they wanted to do a video about vegan culture in Orange County. So we said, could you include La Vegana Mexicana, for example, or other downtown vegan businesses? But they didn't respond to us. We think they're really busy because we were also trying to get them for Art Walk. So we haven't heard back from them. So that just is there to sit there so you understand like the kind of things people are asking for. We didn't include in this like our internal events because we don't really know about when events will be allowed in the city. There is, of course, the farmers market happening, but that's an essential service and all other events have been canceled, including even the sidewalk sales Savor, Media Summit, Art Walk is online. All those events, we don't know if those, how, in what capacity they'll be back this year. Then third-party events like the Tamalata, that we had given a little bit of money to last year. That was a huge success. And so, we were probably looking and had one conversation with Eddy so far. I think he was at a wait and see when we talked to him. Madeline Bocadoro, I think you're going to produce online if you can't do it in person. We talked to Tish and Joaquin about a Jazz in the Park. You maybe have a status update on that. Sunday Fun Day was the idea of McFadden Market to do some more family oriented stuff on Sundays. And then Madeline has a mural slam that she's built some giant wood siding in the blue lot for a mural slam that was supposed to happen. And so that may take place or in some capacity or not. Then there's all these events that are occurring that have gone, we're in downtown and now they're going online. They haven't asked us for any funds, but they're definitely representing and keeping downtown's messaging out there. So I just highlighted them. N360 is a collaborative out of the Copper Door that they're selling beer and pizza and ice cream sandwiches from Chunk and Chip Pizza Press. And I think the liquor's from Copper. And then, or somebody, maybe it's Mission, but then Mo Better Mondays, which was an event at Forestry Markets online. Witch Walk has gone online and been very successful. Gente Night Market's gone online and been very successful. I saw Concepts doing an event. Elite Fitness is doing daily workouts. The Amigas Social Club has been a great online sort of club of women who are associated with downtown Santa Ana and the area. So they haven't asked us for anything, but these are interesting things that maybe we could support or not. Oops, what did I do wrong? Just maybe one or two more slides here, sorry. Okay, so then we also looked at like marketing personnel. So we just had our intern, Brianna Polikar from Cal State Fullerton. She just completed her internship with us. And so she was fantastic, very helpful at marketing. She was involved with our Valentine's Day promotion that we did with Vic Carmona as the Cupid. She wrote articles about downtown retail, and then she's been doing a lot of marketing of Art Walk and the artists associated with it. So we could bring her on board. The team liked working with her. We've also been working with Maria the Hot Tortilla, who's sort of a brand ambassador for downtown. She apparently actually worked for Downtown Inc. under Vicky Baxter several years ago. She's been hosting our Art Walk and been really great about doing interviews with businesses. So interested in potentially bringing her on the team to work with our whole team on social media promotion and more sort of content with rounded out content for social media. We've been talking to Anais Tanji about helping out the restaurants. She's been very extensive in posting about, informative posts on how takeout works and how to connect with restaurants and markets during this time. When I asked Julie what she thought maybe some of the things that she would be interested in us looking at, one of the number one things she said was an ambassador. And so the idea of a downtown ambassador, I priced it out with Jose for about 32-hour, Thursday through Sunday, lunch to dinner ambassador. They could be, out basically helping people with social distancing at this point. They could be at the courts telling people to come over for lunch or how to ride the trolley. They could be walking around before lunch, dinner, handing out happy hour menus. So the idea is to have a roaming person under the Clean and Safe program with a personality who would represent and get people going to where they're going. That's a very large program, 42,000. But SABC may be interested in splitting that. So it would be down to 21,000 for that full-time position. Very interested to hear what people think about that, yes or no. Then was looking at some special funds for Robert, our social media guy. Like I said, he's been working 5 times harder than usual just to keep up with COVID. And then on top of that, he's been doing campaigns. He's grown our audience 20% in the last 2-3 months. So really would love to compensate him when he comes up with these special campaigns and executes them. Also, as we create all this online content, what happens is we're creating like 4-hour blocks of art content, and that's like the show that goes out. But then what we find is if we cut each of the artists into clips and then shoot out those videos as well, we double the amount of people that view and share. And that's a very lengthy process that's not that fun to do. So we'd like to outsource that clipping of videos of all this content that's being created. Advertising. So we do mostly Facebook advertising, and 6,000 is about how much we could spend on boosts probably in a year span. So that's just an estimate based on previous influencers. You know, we've always hooked up like social media influencers with stuff. We're talking about right now hooking up maybe some of the neighborhood leaders with stuff like gift certificates to the farmers market, things like that, so that neighborhood leaders across the city come into downtown, access downtown, get comfortable with it, and then tell their neighbors. So that was something that we've been talking about. And then we expect SABC to initiate some partnerships as well. A lot of these, you know, Madeline and I have talked about, but her group hasn't had a chance to have extensive conversations yet about these funds. We know they have a lot of great ideas. We've had a lot of success partnering with them on both initiatives that we've led and ones they've led. So I'm expecting that there will be an ask coming from them as well. So I earmarked some funds in advance for that as well. We also looked at a couple marketing production projects. So one that was suggested to us was a mural map. So we have a restaurant guide. What about a mural map? And the pricing we got for that, the initial pricing was very high. You know, the restaurant map usually costs us about $5,000 to produce. At this point, OCTA is actually producing it for us, and we just tell them the updates. So that's gone down to free. So I would like to get the cost of this reduced further, but it's an interesting idea. The monthly music and retail showcase, that is the DTSA open stage that I showed you earlier. That was going to be an in-person event. It's launched as an online event. We're splitting that cost with SABC. And then this is an idea that came out of Long Beach. A colleague who runs the Bixby Knolls Business Improvement District, they have an art walk just like us, and they could not, we tried to help them get online with their art walk, but they were not as technically savvy as we were able to figure out to be. And what they did instead was they actually used the same trolley that we use for our purposes for art walk and this and that. So they put banners on the trolley that said, like, you know, downtown strong, and they put Mickey and Minnie on the back and played music, and they sent it into the neighborhoods, and like hundreds of people posted pictures. They said people were coming out on their lawns like World War II just ended. It was a very successful program. They've done it about 3 times. So we talked with Julie. Julie actually has the trolley under contract. So the trolley costs could be subsidized by the city. We would print the banners and share the cost of the characters, and you basically need a security escort. So it's very inexpensive to do, probably about $1,000 per time for between us and SABC split. Would be like $500 per time, and then the trolley would be through Julie. So that's something we're really interested in doing. We're all set up, ready to do it. Very interested to hear what you guys think about that. And then we are getting more digital software subscriptions like Zoom and things like that. So we put in that in this marketing budget basically for that type of software, video editing software, all that type of stuff. And then hopefully we'll pay some artists or performers out of the marketing funds, whether those are buskers that are going to be at the food islands or if it's online performers. We set aside some funds in this for that as well, or hope to. So I know that's a lot of information. I'd love your reactions to any of this. What did you feel strongly about? Did you really like any of these ideas? Do you hate any of these ideas? Do you have other ideas that need to be priced and added to this so that we can start to come together to a portfolio of how to spend this money effectively?
Ryan, just thinking out loud here, but do you think it'd be helpful to have everyone review these things offline then send kind of some notes back on what they like and don't like, and then we can kind of maybe digest it all and kind of compile all the data and try to come up with a more comprehensive kind of plan, if you will. I mean, we can talk about it now, obviously, but I think there's so much to digest. Even for me, I'm like, oh my God, there's so many good ideas. Like which ones to do and how, if we do this and don't do that or whatever. So maybe it'd be good to have everyone digest it all and send some feedback. I don't know, but then, what are your thoughts?
Absolutely. We have time. We are executing small contracts out of this. So, we are spending a little dollars here and there, but this is the beginning of this conversation. If there's anything you guys feel strongly about that you want to alert us to now, that's fantastic. We definitely have more time to come to decisions. No big decisions need to be made at this time at all. It's really just to start to get dialogue and feedback, and especially if there's ideas that aren't here, I think those are really important to bring up. And then if there are ones that you think absolutely or absolutely not, those would be great things to indicate right now. As far as beyond that, yeah, we have a lot of time to figure this out.
Hey, Ryan. Hey, Gene. First of all, I think this whole program looks awesome, and way to go. And I think it's a fantastic start. And thank you for organizing and introducing it like this. One of the things I've been noticing over the past year is as far as when a new project or resources like this do come around, there is we've developed a system of being very event oriented and saying, okay, for 2 years, we're going to have this and we're going to have these events. And then after that, you go back to the drawing board and, it's constantly this transient thing. It's kind of like you're running a carnival lot and things just kind of keep going through it. And you try and figure out which, how do you maximize the most for that one thing that's going to be there for those 2 or 3 days. And it's a lot of effort. And which is why I think Disneyland is such the anomaly. And it's a good kind of thing because it takes a bold decision to build Disneyland and say it's going to be there forever. And it becomes a destination, or it's becomes something that people want to go to, versus trying to get people to go to something that's not going to be there forever, or something that's so right now it just seems the event mindset seems to go, okay, let's grab all the people that we can from within a 20-mile radius, versus a 2,000-mile radius, when people go, you know what, I want to go to Santa Ana because they have this really cool park, or they have this really cool downtown area that one of the buildings actually transforms into a robot or something. But there's never really an effort or something that says let's develop permanence so that we become a destination, so that this thing becomes a destination. And the city a long time ago said we want to be a city of arts. Well, that takes getting into the business of being in the arts, and it seems that we're always focused on, and God bless the restaurant owners and everyone who's affiliated with downtown businesses right now. These are the people that are surviving and working hard, and I love them, and I've gotten to know several of them throughout this, while staying home. They're the ones that are actually hoping that somebody comes in, or somebody actually has the ideas of let's do something permanent. Let's develop something. So I would just ask that we consider that, given that there's a great opportunity here, and not be so event oriented, but maybe actually start opening up to, hey, what type of destination do we really want to develop? Do we want to develop an event center, or an event oriented thing so that we can keep restaurants open? Or do we want to, really start promoting the the city of arts that the city said it wanted to be some time ago? Before quarantine happened, we are already losing tons of artists. Now you've lost a ton more, and there's nothing permanent for them to come back to. Even the art walk, as awesome as it is, and what a great job we've done taking it online. Now you actually have to, a big trick is trying to get things back offline, and actually have people physically coming to things and doing it in a way that makes sense. But I would really hope that we start going, okay, so-and-so developer or so-and-so artist or so-and-so is going to develop a permanent site. Because if it doesn't become permanent, then it becomes just a place where sometimes cool things happen.
Can I just mention that I really like and would love to hear more of Jean in terms of developing this idea. And it's one of the things that we really are about building audience over time, which is the programming element and creating a programmatic. I'd love there to be a calendar that literally you can know every day of the week what you can go to in downtown, what workshops you could be in, what professional development you can take. And that's something that, I mean, for the past, it's been like 5 years, just building that is very hard. And the most successful one we've done is having the Dancing in the Streets, which has built audience, and it became a place where people are coming. So I agree with you. I just wanted to put that out there that I agree with you, and I like programmatic and building audience.
And again, I think to piggyback of Adeline, again, we want your input. So if you have ideas, throw them at us. I mean, you're the artist, you know more of that world than frankly I obviously know. So if you have ideas that make sense, let's talk about them. Absolutely, and we appreciate your input, please.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Dean, you're really right, because we had a big artist mixer like February 28th or 7th, and we were going to ask about how to use the money, but what we decided was we would expand Art Walk into the street. So start shutting down Sycamore. That was going to be a substantial expense and expansion. And so that's what we were going to do. That's not going to happen now this year. So those funds evaporated back into what you just saw. So the artists, there is a missing piece here probably for the artists. The only other thing is that we were going to hire local artists for those banners and for the fencing coverage. So more ideas, and definitely I think you're right that, we've really looked at the investment the city made in the arts in the 90s and the plans that they made. And then at some point, basically the city just walked away from all those plans. And there's still a lot of stuff on autopilot, like Grand Central, the Promenade exists, we're still running the Art Walk. But the idea of investing in the arts and moving downtown forward as an arts destination really stopped. We've tried to take leadership, through this, what's really supposed to be happening, and this is not a priority of theirs. Also, the cultural master plan, while there's a lot of good stuff in there, it really tried to minimize any mention of downtown whatsoever. And so when we try and work with the Cultural Affairs Department, they don't want to work with us at all because we're not in their 10-year plan really in any capacity, and they want to focus 100% on other parts of the city. So it's really up to us, and we'd love to work with you to raise these questions and voices, because this is why we're all here, is because of those investments in the 90s really centered this whole thing. And for that to just slowly decay makes no sense. It was been a very successful program, and it deserves ongoing investment and stewardship.
If I could jump in for a minute, there's a resource that might be useful for this conversation. It's a study put out. It's called Culture Track, and it was put out several years ago. And they redo it. They're actually redoing it right now for COVID-19, and my organization is one of the subject audiences for it. But in Culture Track, they reached out across the country to ask what makes a cultural experience. And what is really interesting is, by the definition of the cultural consumer in the United States, downtown Santa Ana is nothing but an arts and cultural experience. Because, and what surprised some traditionalists and would probably might surprise the people who were defining arts district in the 90s is that public parks are a cultural experiencing public park is a cultural experience. A dining experience, an artful dining experience is a cultural experience. So I just as a resource, you might want to, if you haven't read it, look into it, because we are fitting very much within the public's view of what an arts and cultural experience is right now.
I'd like to come up with maybe a subcommittee on this topic, and maybe we could brainstorm together those who really want to be part of this, because this is a great opportunity that we could probably talk about forever. But maybe if we got like a small group of people who really want to put their input, would that be helpful?
And just to clarify, are you speaking about this arts opportunity or the OCTA funds in
The
general?
OCTA funding, because this conversation has to do with that money. And so I think, you know, I mean, Jean came up with an amazing idea. I'm sure other people have, you know, great ways to bring this all together. And I don't know, just an idea.
I think it's a good idea, Tish. I think, you know, again, we're already at 10:45 here. I want to respect everyone's time as well. Maybe what we could do is, and again, Ryan, I want to defer to Ryan because he's been handling this and really putting his blood, sweat, and tears into it. But maybe what we do is we have everyone over the next, maybe say by next week, by next Wednesday, you have any feedback on what's already been sent out, on what you think are priorities, what you think are good, what is bad. Again, maybe just redline the sheets of what your opinions are on that. And then if you have any other new ideas to implement into that, we could compile all that data. Then maybe we set up a meeting in a few weeks with whoever's interested to kind of walk through it and kind of come up with a more of a succinct game plan that the board can then vote on. Is that?
Sounds good.
Ryan, does that work for you? Is there any issue with that?
Yeah, so what I'm hearing is there'll be an ad hoc committee meeting. Do you want to assign a chair or co-chairs right now for it?
Sure. Is anyone interested in doing that? I mean, I'm happy to do it, obviously, but I think because I'm president, probably should let someone else do it if they want, but happy to help wherever.
Personally, I would love to throw Gene's name in there to maybe if he has the, you know, the time. I mean, because you have some great ideas, especially with the artists involved. You know, I personally think that the artists really need to be showcased a lot more. So, I mean, just throwing it out there, Gene.
Well, I appreciate it. The only thing is a lot of the ideas I was talking about fall way outside of the scope that has already been legally agreed to, as far as the list was that we were shown of what the money could be used for or should be used for. So it would actually take a stretch of redefining and re-figuring out how to go about that. So the ideas I was talking about was trying to say, okay, let's expand, or can we expand those definitions, or figure out definitions that would include, at least some movement towards this, towards a more permanent versus event oriented. Because if you look at, everything that was proposed or has been proposed so far, the word event is in every single thing. An event is just like I said, it's a transient thing. So I would be happy to, and I'm not so sure me guiding it would be supporting what is already been legally agreed to.
So
can I just mention that anything you come up with, I mean, we have a grant writer, and anything that happens for the arts, we can use this data to push other ways of pulling in funding. So it's really important that that information is brought together anyway,
yes,
no matter what.
Well, again, Gene, if you don't feel comfortable chairing it, I appreciate the candor and the complexities here. I mean, I guess it really doesn't even matter, frankly, who chairs it. I think we just want to get together and start talking and coming up with dialogue. And again, whether it applies to this money or whether it applies to other money or whether it's a strategy we need to look at, it can't hurt to talk, right? I think is the idea. So,
exactly.
Yeah, no, I'll be happy to head it up.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
So Ryan, do you want to check or I guess maybe send an email out to who else is interested in joining this committee? Then we'll get a meeting set up, and then again in the interim, send an email out just to the board regarding input on these initial ideas, and we can kind of start narrowing that down. Does that work?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. All right. Unless anyone else has anything else, I don't want to keep anyone longer. We've already been on for almost 2 hours, and again, I know all your time is very valuable. And hopefully, you have something to do now as things are starting to normalize a little bit. But unless anyone else has anything else, I'm gonna end the meeting now. And again, thank you all for your time and support. And again, very unique times here, but we're gonna work through this and hopefully again come up with ideas and things that we can do to help continue to market and promote and benefit the downtown and the city. So a lot of exciting stuff here, and I think a lot of things we can come up with that, again, creative programming and events and marketing and ideas and whatever. So again, thank you all. Ryan, do you have anything to add?
No.
Okay, great. Well, thank you all for your efforts and your support and your time. Again, Julie, Ryan, Madeline, the team, the city, all of you. Thank you. And Ryan, I'll get those emails out soon on the subcommittee, and we'll get going and start figuring out where we can place this money. But again, thank you all for your time and your support. Appreciate it.